We're talking about how to curb your cravings. So tonight, if you are new, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Renee Paulson. I'm a recovering food and sugar addict, but also a healthy living and nutrition coach. I literally was consuming probably over 500 grams of sugar every single day and kind of hit a point where a big truck hit me in the head, actually, and broke my body into a bunch of pieces, and I kind of had to learn how to come out of pain and not be in pain, and that's what the catalyst was, really, to start me on my health and weight loss journey. If you want to know that whole huge story, I will actually link a video that's in a free private group that I did last week called The Catalyst. It's from my every other Thursday nights, I do Confessions of a Food and Sugar Addict. And that was last week. So The Catalyst is that whole huge story behind how I did that. Recovered from food and sugar addiction, lost over 100 pounds, and now I help other women do the exact same thing. Get back in control of their health, lose weight for good, get your cravings in check, all while learning moderation so you can have your cake and eat it too. So, without further ado, let's hop in. I want to make sure, because Facebook is all new, that I can see all comments. I'm hoping that I can. It says comments won't appear here. So if you're on your live, say what's up, hi. If you're watching this as a replay, I always check the replay. So you can also say hi, and I'll come say hi back, ask any questions, put anything in there. I would love for this to be an interactive conversation. Yeah, and so let's just dive into it. I want to talk about how to curb your cravings. And we're going to talk about detox, but we're going to talk about that at the end, because you can't just live your life on a sugar detox. You can, but then you're really following more of that, where you have the sugar and food addiction recovery program, where it's Overeaters Anonymous, and it's literally completely no-go ever. And then what ends up happening is you can end up craving on a loop and end up binging. So let's instead talk about how to curb your cravings on a regular basis instead of living your life on a detox, because I don't believe in that. So the first thing you want to do is to notice when you're craving foods. Is it late at night? Are you a late night snacker, which is very, very common. I was a huge late night snacker. I actually have a picture. I should post it. I gotta find it. I have a picture where I'm literally passed out with the giant family size box of goldfish. I'm pretty sure my husband has it. He said it was blackmail. So notice when you're craving. Like I said, are you a late night craver? Where you're really feeling like you need to snack at night? Is it that you really feel like you're craving when you're stressed, which is normal, very, very normal. And that's because when we release those stress hormones, they actually make us hungry and we start craving food. So it makes sense. So the first thing is to just really notice when you're craving. If you're craving when maybe you're on the phone with someone and you're going through your kitchen and you're just kind of grabbing things and you eat things. Is it late at night? Is it first thing in the morning? So really the first step is to notice when you're craving. And then the second step to that is, let's say you're in the house, right? Or at work, or whatever it is, wherever you're craving, if there's something around you at that particular moment that you're like, oh my God. Now, let me give this analogy because I have such a great analogy for this. I have a lovely woman, Dana, who was on a sugar detox and was really doing great. And then, she went into work and they had pizza there. And she's just drooling over this pizza because it's pizza. I don't know if you like pizza. I love pizza. And so I was in those moments when you have something and you're starting to crave because you literally have something there in front of your face is to remove yourself from the situation. Leave the house, leave the area, leave. Now I got the hiccups. I have not been drinking, I promise. Maybe drink some water, it'll go away. All right, but remove yourself from that area. Go take a 5-minute walk. Go take a breather. There's been times I use the Headspace app and I've been so angry because I'm craving so hard that I've done a meditation or a walking meditation or a breathing exercise. If you're craving something that's in the house regularly, why did I say that weird? Regularly, remove that item from the house. if you're about to tell me, I love to give examples because that's just how I live my life. If you're saying, I crave Oreos and that's what I have in my house, this is also just my own personal example. If I crave Oreos and I love Oreos and I know if I have Oreos in the house, I'm gonna crave them until I eat them. And the rest of my family likes Oreos. I'm gonna tell my family, I cannot have Oreos in the house at this time. That doesn't mean that they can never come back in the house. It just means at this time I cannot have Oreos in the house because I cannot resist them. And if your family throws a huge fit, that's also a discussion that you can have. If you're struggling with cravings and struggling with food and sugar addiction, which, let me just again put that out there, that sugar addiction is not something to be ashamed of. Literally, the food nowadays is made so that you're supposed to be addicted to it. So again, no shame in that, and not anything that you need to hide or feel bad about. And I would explain to, and I did, and I will tell you that my husband did not believe in food and sugar addiction initially for a while, until I started to really communicate how it felt and what I felt like inside and what I was dealing with. And it really kind of took that guessing out of it, where instead of someone just looking at you going, well, can't you just resist that? And can't you just have some control? And like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you eat that whole, like, why can you just not eat the whole sleeve of Oreos? Why can't you just have two? And it starts to really open up that conversation instead of just saying, someone telling you to have self-control. So really being open and honest about how you're feeling, and that really starts with also being open and honest with yourself. Now, you could also struggle with your weight and food and not be highly, highly addicted to food and sugar. You could just, when you're craving something like that, it can be a hormone thing, or it could just be, like I said, addiction. Again, food is made to be highly addictive. I think that there's this taboo that people really don't want to admit that they have that addiction. But let me just say that for the most part, people can tell, because, and it's hard to admit it to yourself and to admit that maybe food has that power over you. But once you start to admit that, then it can really start to reframe those cravings. So if you have something in the house, remove it from the house, at least for the time being. I had where certain foods could not be in the house for years even. It depended on what it was. And that's just healing that relationship with food and allowing it back in the house and seeing, can I control myself or can I not? So when you're really working around cravings, remove what you need to remove from the house. If your family throws a fit, they throw a fit. That's just the way that it is. Unless they are purchasing it, which also, if you have a spouse who's purchasing those things, that can be really tricky, and that can be like that's like a whole other bag of beans. I don't even know. That didn't even make sense, a bag of beans. Can of beans. Can of worms. Bag of worms? Can of worms. Can of worms? Yeah, can of worms. If you have a spouse or significant other that's bringing those things into the house and they're not respecting your wishes to not keep them in the house, that's a whole separate conversation, to where if you have one, of a couple, if you have one person who is trying to get healthy and the other person is not on board, sometimes that does not work out. But again, that's a whole shebang for another time. But if you have a spouse that's bringing that stuff bringing that food into the house, definitely warrants a conversation. And instead of getting really angry with that person, just really being honest about your feelings and saying, this is how I feel. I feel disrespected, or I feel that I'm struggling with this because I think I'm struggling with food and sugar addiction. Now, if you have a spouse who's also struggling with food and sugar addiction, they might not want to hear that, and they may say, well, that's your problem and this ain't my problem, and I'm going to eat this and you do your thing. So, be prepared for that if it happens. And if it happens, that, like I said, the whole healthy spouse thingy, I'm going to have to do a live stream just about that, I think. Because that's like I said, it's a can of worms. And if you have a married couple, or even if you're together and you want to get healthy together, it actually makes your relationship stronger. If you have one who wants to get healthy and one who doesn't, usually what ends up happening, well, I shouldn't say usually. A lot of times what ends up happening is you grow apart and then you don't have a lot of things in common anymore. And if the person who wants to stay healthy on their healthy journey and the other person does not want to budge on that, then you can find a lot of times where people will separate, divorce, break up, just, they don't have anything in common anymore and they have grown apart. So, like I said, I've gotten on a whole long tangent. So anyway, remove the things from the house if you need to. If you can't, remove yourself from the house. If you're sitting there, like I said, and you're sitting there smelling pizza and you are like, I can't have this pizza and I just want to rip my skin off. I feel so frustrated right now. Go and leave the area. Go for a walk. Go breathe. Go scream into a pillow. Go do what you need to do, but really get yourself out of that space instead of just sitting there spooling. And I use this spooling as, okay, so when I take my dog to dog training on Saturday, when the dogs are like all whiny and they're like, and they're all freaking out, that's called spooling, where you're just like, you're just sitting there in the same spot and you're just going over and over and over and over again. And you just, that's what it is. So spooling. And so instead of spooling, go take a walk, chill out, do what you need to do, to kind of remove yourself from that situation. It is kind of more like, when you quit smoking, they tell you when you have a craving for a cigarette, wait a couple minutes and see if the craving passes. This is kind of that same concept, except you're taking movement to it and you're removing yourself from the situation and you're really putting movement so you can move that frustrated energy out of your body, really is what it helps do. So remove from the house, remove yourself from the situation, whatever you need to do. Another great way to curb your cravings, which sounds really silly, is to track your food. Now, I know I talk about this all the time, and so please don't tune me out and be like, listen, I'm so tired of you talking about tracking food. But again, how are you going to know what's coming out, as in a craving, is going to be a result of what's going in? Sometimes, not always, but we want to track our food just to see what's going in, to see where you're at, not, to hyperanalyze it or anything like that. As you know, or if you're new here, the app that I love to use is called Chronometer. They have a free version, they have a paid version, but it really breaks food down into, not just the macronutrients, but also the micronutrients. So it really helps to see if, like, you're vitamin deficient in certain areas, but also can be helpful to see maybe I'm getting too much sugar, maybe I'm getting too much fat, maybe I'm getting too much of this. So if you're getting too much of those things, then it can also, again, start up cravings again. So this is why I love to do a detox a couple times a year, because it is easy to, once you start to get along, you go along your way, and maybe you're going out with friends on the weekend, or you're having, this or that, those cravings can really get out of control very quickly. It's very easy to do. And it's not, that's just real life. It's this world that we live in. We live in a processed food world. Would it be a great world if we didn't? Yeah, but that's not realistic at this point. So tracking your food to know what's going in, especially if you've got a lot of processed foods going in, that's going to really make those cravings shoot way up. So think about once you start to feel those cravings, trying to go back into a normal, I wouldn't say normal, like a whole food, all those natural whole foods. Now, what I say is usually stick to the grocery store shelves on the outside. The ones on the inside are going to be lots of processed foods that's going to have added sugar, salt, and fat. All the things that our bodies love because of our biological, caveman era and wanting to survive. So we have not ever come out of that into grocery store land with our physiology. So we need to really make sure that what we're putting in our bodies is going to pay off in the long run. So if we're putting extra processed foods in there, those cravings aren't going to go up. It's just kind of part of the game. When you're taking that food in, your body wants more and more and more of it because it hunts for it. Hunter, gatherer, that type of shebang. Beyond tracking your food, really, especially when it comes to late night snacking or things like that, this is where I really love intermittent fasting to help curb those cravings. Something about making that rule. Now, am I going to tell you that it's going to be 100% effective every single time? No, I will not tell you that. But I will tell you that something about making that rule and saying intermittent fasting at whatever it is, if you're at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., After that time that you eat at night, the kitchen is closed, period, end of story. Put a sticky note on the refrigerator, put tape on the refrigerator, tell your kids that the kitchen's closed, tell your spouse, your significant other, whoever it is, to try and help you with that. Now, this works in a couple ways because obviously you're not eating, so you're not going to give in to those cravings. But also by intermittent fasting, it will lower your blood sugar and start to even you out. So you're not going to have those dips and spikes where you are going to be more prone to having food cravings as well. So it really kind of helps in a couple different ways. And now I know that a lot of people love intermittent fasting, and I absolutely love intermittent fasting for lots of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is it helps with recovering from food and sugar addiction. It puts those parameters and those rules like, okay, this is the eating window and you can't eat outside of that window. And also when you break a fast, you have to plan. That's the biggest key, is you have to plan when you break your fast, because your body is going to suck up all those nutrients. So you don't want to give it garbage. You definitely want to give it good, nutritious, whole foods. But that fasting, most of the time people are fasting throughout the night on a regular basis. Like usually people stop eating food somewhere around 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then they don't eat again until like 8 or 9 o'clock the next morning. So that's doing intermittent fasting. So it's just, again, setting those parameters and setting the boundary, that rule. Kitchen is closed. I'm fasting right now. And fasting is something for health. It's an autophagy. It helps rejuvenate your cells, lower your blood sugar, and really help balance all those things out. So it's not particularly for weight loss. It's a tool that can be used for that reason, is setting those boundaries, setting that food time and that eating window. So I found that was extremely helpful when it came to late night cravings, for sure. And it's incredibly important to, like I said, make sure that you plan when you're ready to break that fast. Another thing that really heightens your cravings is stress. So stress management is going to be a huge practice just in general for a lifetime. We're all stressed, especially moms. Like, mom, you're in charge of like a lot of things and a lot of people and a lot of pieces of paper that are super important. I don't that I lose all the time. But yeah, so managing your stress is super important to helping lower those cortisol levels. Actually, when your body releases cortisol, it releases another hormone that is the hunger hormone, that makes you hungry. And actually, when we are stressed, those stress hormones tell our body, like, we need to eat fat, we need sugar, we need all of the comfort foods. We need those things to make our body feel better. The body, super smart. So when you get stressed and you start releasing those stress hormones, that's exactly what the body starts to do, is like, hey, we need to chill this person out. So we need to give them some sugar and fat and salt and all those things that are going to make them really chill out and make them happy and give them dopamine so that they're not so like, ugh. So your body really starts to take over it and go into a craving loop when you get into that. Now, I don't know about you. Put it in the comments when you get stressed. What is your go-to? Because when I get stressed, my go-to is chocolate. And it will be like, I want some chocolate. And it will just soothe me. And I needed to find a different way to soothe myself instead of using chocolate. And so what I did, again, going for a walk, you can take a bubble bath, which seems, as a mom, when your kids are younger, taking a bubble bath seems like a pipe dream. I don't know about you. But going for a walk, talking with a friend, talking with your therapist, doing something for 5 minutes that you love, listening to music, super powerful, very, very helpful, especially when it comes to mental health and cravings. Oh, I feel like I got something in my eye. Ooh, excuse me. Jesus, I feel like something just fell in there. Oh, all right. No, I don't remember. Oh, music, very powerful, to where you can listen to, 5 minutes of a favorite song, go sing, dance, do whatever you gotta do. Lip sync and jam out in the bathroom if you have to. Like, go to work, do it in the stall. I don't care what you have to do, but managing that stress, super helpful. It depends. My music taste is very varied. I don't know about you, but when I get stressed, it depends. Like a lot of times I like to listen to NF or yeah, it just varies. But I think NF is a good one. NF actually has a song called My Stress. So I'll go and like jam out and be like, my stress. And then I'm like, oh, then I feel, you know, I just kind of like woosah and feel better. And using music actually, I've found has really been a good substitute versus trying to go and use comfort food or chocolate or anything like that. So for sure, I love using music and just doing, you know, going and jamming out on one song. I saw a picture the other day of someone who like felt so frustrated. They put their phone in their mouth while it was playing, like, you know, where the speaker part is on the bottom, and they plugged their ears and they were just like, I can feel the music that way in my brain. And I was like, that's an interesting tactic. I don't know. They said it was like an ADHD. I want to feel the music on the back of my brain. And I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, the music scratched the back of your brain, unsure. But I can't knock it unless I try it. But I'm also scared to try it. I might go deaf. I'm too old for this. We'll see. But yeah, managing your stress is super, super important. And then, of course, my last tip, if all of those else has failed and you're like, I cannot stay away from the chocolate or bread or ice cream or wine or whatever it is, then doing a 10-day sugar detox is going to be that emergency pull, that emergency break. I love doing my 10-day sugar detox. I have the online program called Sugar Warrior 10. I will put the link in the comments here so you can go check it out and you can find out all the information that you want to know. But literally that 10 days, I get so excited for anybody who's about to do it, because to even tell you how you're going to feel on day 10, you think I'm lying to you. You think it's a lie, but I'm telling you, your cravings, gone. Absolutely gone by day 10. And not only that, but you feel incredible. And the average weight loss is like 7 pounds. So I love that program, but really it's not about the weight loss. That's what everybody loves, and you get into it for the weight loss. A lot of women will get into it for the weight loss, and in the end you'll repeat it because number one, you feel incredible, and number one, your cravings are completely gone, and number two, you feel incredible. That's a toss-up. I should do a poll or ask the ladies that have done it before, like which is better, feeling incredible or having no cravings? Which are you most surprised about? But it's a game changer for sure. And I'm not just telling you that because I'm trying to sell you a program. That is not in it. I'm telling you this because this program, I've never seen anybody go through it 100% and not have phenomenal results. Completely curb their cravings to where when you start out on day one, you're like, okay, I think, I'm going to do this. You'll be all gung-ho, whatever. And then on day 10, I'll be like, okay, you're about ready for your treat. You can go have whatever. And that person will be like, I don't even feel like having what I wanted in the beginning. Like, I don't even feel like that's necessary, that I'm craving that anymore. I'm not craving anything, which is crazy. People, you never think that your cravings can actually disappear, but they 100% can. Like I said, try all of those other tools first to see if you can really curb those cravings. And if not, girl, I got the sauce, man. I got the secret sauce, and it is called Sugar Warrior 10. And it is 100% effective on banning those freaking cravings and kicking them to the curb and make you feel insanely energetic, incredible, alive. Your skin clears, your eyes clear. I don't know. I get excited when I talk about that just because I love seeing people go through it, because it's phenomenal. The results are insane every single time. But yeah, so if you've tried all the other tools and you're like, I still have these cravings and I still cannot keep it. And I will even see people on like the sugar detox program, on other people's sugar detox programs where you're trying to ban sugar for forever and you just fail over and over. And without these set tools that I have in place to make it where you're going to be successful and feel great at the end, it can feel impossible. It's definitely not impossible. It's definitely 100% doable. I've seen so many incredible women do it and have phenomenal results, kick their cravings, and I absolutely love it. But, it's not for everybody. I don't know who it would not be for. Maybe, I guess, if you're a quitter. It's definitely not for you if you're a quitter. Or you love sugar and you never want to quit it, or you want to keep your cravings and just live in that hellhole where you're just craving things all the time and you feel like you have absolutely no control. It's not for you there. But if you're like, I'm ready to have control, I'm ready to be the boss here, I'm ready to tell these cravings, like, this is who's in charge, let me tell you, I got you back. I hope that you have a phenomenal night. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time and listening to all the ways that you can help curb your cravings, including managing your stress, which, especially in today's world, is super important. I've been feeling those effects over the last couple weeks, and I don't know about you. I'm an empath. I'm very empathetic. So when things in the world go awry, especially the war in Ukraine, things like that are very affecting to people, and we don't even realize it. So managing your stress and making sure that you're taking care of yourself, and go tell yourself that you love yourself, because you're freaking awesome. You're an amazing warrior. I love you. I hope that you have a fantastic evening, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.